Okay, so here we have the three different sections of discipline-specific vocabulary. We have the elementary, we have the middle school, and then we have the high school. Each one progressively gets harder. These two sections are fairly easy, however there is a slight difference, but there is a clear difference. And then high school is the more advanced section, which these two stages sort of lead up together towards the high school. So as you can see here, elementary is very basic, the basic principles. We have the sprint. Kids need to learn how to sprint clearly, and then what it does is you can link that with agility, acceleration, etc. The two we were contemplating between elementary and middle school was the balance and muscle. However, we decided to put this in this category because the child does need to learn how to balance for it to progress on. The balance element comes, between sprinting, hopping, skipping, etc. Jogging. The kid knows how to balance to do that, successfully to then progress on. The muscle, the child needs to learn what muscles use in different areas. So, for example, the different muscles will be used for a sprint compared to a jog. But then again, it's very close to middle school. However, it is sort of like a difference, and you'll see as we talk on in the video how it progresses on to say high school level. The three sort of basic principles of elementary was the hop, skip, and the jump. These are, like I said, these are very basic, and they belong in elementary quite, solidly. So the child does need to learn them for each to then progress on. One element which we were discussing was the idea of the sprint and the jog. The child needs to learn the difference between them two, which will help enable them to progress on to the middle school level and eventually the high school level. But the sprint and the jog is quite clear. And like I said, the child needs to learn different muscles, etc. And the run, and then middle school.
And then when we move on to middle school, the terms get a little bit harder, and you learn a little bit more. Acceleration, that has to do with jump, skip, run. You got to learn how to progress from a walk to a jog to a run, and endurance comes with that. You also have to know how to endure, and endurance comes with intensity. You can bring intensity always when you're working out or doing anything. The student needs to know how to be agile and make different moves and know how to work with that. Resistance, that can go back to any of these with acceleration and the sprint. You have to learn how to keep going and keep going. We thought about resting heart rate, we thought about putting that in high school, but we decided we believe that it needed to be a middle school term. And that is something that you need to learn how to be able to go about. Range of motion, the student needs to learn with his balance and his muscles how to be flexible and move around. And interval training, the student needs to know how to go in a workout from one set to a different set and work with that.
Yeah, like I said, there's a clear difference. However, it's still quite basic. And then we move on to the last section, which is high school, which then is the more advanced stuff, which will sort of benefit the students to either use that just in life in general, or to then push on to college level and maybe like physical education or exercise science and maybe like that. This can relate to that and go on to stuff like that. So for the first one, which is sort of a basis to high school, which is BMI, your body mass index. This is sort of just like a basic sort of fundamental, which is like very useful towards high school, and the sort of vocabulary sort of sets off on its own. Body composition as well, another important key. Very advanced compared to the more elementary and middle school section, but it moves on to body composition. The fit principle, level 2. This is again another great thing to use for students, as well as knowledge of it, to be fair. But it's just something which can benefit the students as well, using and also using that in their vocabulary. Isometric movements, it needs to learn the difference between the two. But like I said, it relates to high school because it's advanced. Muscle action, as you can see, like I expressed earlier, with the use of the muscle in elementary, there is a clear move from, say, the muscle in elementary and how it uses to then the action it possesses. So the different muscles and how active they are in different ways they work and move, etc. The big one in high school is the difference between the cardiovascular endurance and cardiovascular fitness. In high school, the student needs to learn the difference between the two. especially for endurance and fitness. Fitness is more on a broader range for students to understand, and endurance is more of a specific range and cardiovascular endurance you need for certain sports, etc. So as you can see, summarising it up, we have the three sort of different categories. We have the elementary, which is again very basic vocabulary, which teachers etc. can use in in elementary. And then middle school is more complex, however it's not challenging enough to stress students out until they get to this level. Like I said, resting heart rate is another key one, which we were contemplating between the two, but it's quite important, fundamental for then the students to move on to high school level. And then as you can see, the high school level is much more advanced, and as you can see, we have gone from very basic to all the way to advanced.